This is the Night Wolf howling at you, and today we're going to take a look at the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 1984 version. This is from the original Ghostbusters movie back from 1984, hence the 1984. Also a book you should probably all be reading right now. And anyway, this is a 1/18th scale vehicle, and it is designed to be used with the 3 3/4 O-ring figures, which, as many of you know, would be the old standard G.I. Joe figures from the 80s and 90s. On the front of the box, of course, we got a picture of the Ecto-1. We've also got what the toy is supposed to look like there. We turn to the top. We have this picture of the vehicle. We got the nice little logo over here and the little patch. The box is obviously designed to look like the cloth from the uniform and is quite possibly one of the most boring boxes I've ever seen. I get what they were doing, but it just looks terrible. On the side, on this side at least, we see the front of the Ecto-1. Spin it around, we see the back of the Ecto-1. Isn't that creative? And then on the side, we get to see all the doodads that go with the vehicle. Doors open, 3 of the doors open. And then you've got the little tray that slides out to hold the backpacks. So in theory, you can put all 4 of the backpacks for the Ghostbuster figures on there, slide it in, and fit all 4 of the Ghostbusters in the vehicle. So let's take this out of the box. Boy. Hey, look, we got the multi-language paper that nobody reads. You know, I'm not going to lie, this box is actually a lot smaller than I was expecting it to be, and so is the vehicle. At least it seems to be. Bag of equipment. So, overall first impression of this vehicle, really looks tiny. Like, I don't collect the scale vehicles type of stuff like the cars. I do have some of the alternators from Transformers, which I guess would also be 1/18th scale. But it does look kind of small, and it just seems kind of impressive that this thing is supposed to hold 4 figures. You know, we have the contents from inside the box, and oh my gosh. I do not see an instruction booklet. Suffice it to say, there is no instruction booklet for this thing. So, I don't know if there's a trick for opening the doors. Alright, there's a door open. It's got the, I don't know, what do they call that kind of seat? There's a specific name for it. Is it like a couch seat? If you know, let me know. This door here is not openable. Oh, and let's see. Oh, okay, so the door is also here on like a double hinge system. So that's kind of interesting. We get the passenger side door. Double hinge system as well. Now, to note, so we do have the glass here. It kind of appears that this whole front part of the door is clear plastic painted. And then this part inside does appear to be solid plastic, but also painted. So I'm kind of wondering how well this is going to hold up, because It does look like, though, the hinge is on the solid plastic. Oh, wait, let me see. Sorry. It looks like the hinge itself is on the solid plastic and that the clear plastic is just attached to the outside of it. So that will probably decrease the chances of this vehicle breaking in the future, or the doors. Now we have the larger back door here. We have facing seats with each other. I'm kind of wondering, though, looking at that, if the character's legs will actually be able to fit on that together or not. We also have like some computer equipment there in the back. Um, whoops, sorry. That top part here, I've worked with one of those before in my physics class, I think. Or at least something really similar to it. There's some more controls over here. Overall, not bad. That one does not appear to be a double hinge like the two front doors are. And unfortunately, the side doors are not closing all the way like the driver's side door did. Now the back also opens. We see additional equipment in here. Doodads and all sorts of things. However, it still does have the big empty space where the casket would go, since this was not an ambulance but a hearse to start with. The wheels themselves actually do feel like they are a rubber, and they've actually got some pretty decent undercarriage sculpting details, however you want to put it. It's a shame that the vehicle's wheels don't turn. Also, it's a shame that this does not have a light and siren. And just to note, the back door does have that same kind of double hinge thing going on here. And like the side doors, it's glass, it's a clear plastic sitting on top of a solid plastic. So, once again, I think that decreases the chance of anything breaking. And she rolls like a dream. Now, let's take a look at our equipment. And let's start with this beauty here. So this is the little tray that the proton packs will go in and then slide in there. What I did not realize at the time was that it is, in fact, a cart. And it's got its own little wheels. Not that they turn. In fact, they seem to be very, very stuck in place. That also doesn't look like... Now, I mean, this is actually the same kind of style that you might have seen in like a hospital for like going into an ambulance maybe, or even the way they used to carry caskets. So what we would do with that is open the back door here. We would have all the equipment loaded up on this thing. Oops. Place it like that, and then slide it in. The wheels go up on their own because of the way it's designed. And there's that little track groove in there for it to sit in. However, even though they have, if you look really closely here, let's take the antenna. these little grooves here. So they have the main groove that allows you to slide it in there. Then they have these little smaller grooves here. And that's where the wheels are supposed to sit from the tray. I do think they could have done something a little bit better for holding that in place, but like I said, supposedly the proton packs will be able to fit on there inside the Ecto-1. And now it's time to figure out how everything else goes on there. I think everybody recognizes this as the roof rack for the top of the Ecto-1. It's got pegs on it, and it's got pegs here. There's a little square there to help hold it and steady in place. And again, so it's a peg and a hole in the top. And it slides in there pretty easily. And it does not, it's not a permanent fixture, so that if you need to take this apart to move it, you can do so. Now it's time to figure out how everything else fits on here. Alright, so this is the ladder to get to the top, and it goes on this passenger side. There is a slot here and a slot here. Or I guess I should say there's a tab here and a tab here. Slot here and a slot up at the top up here. So we will go ahead and affix that. We'll turn back this way. We have the weird blue cabling that God only knows what it's actually supposed to do. We will put that into the slot down here. And we've got some holes up here for it. So we got that together. Now we have this egg-looking thing with an antenna. It has a couple slots here as a corner piece. Luckily, there's a corner slot right there. Now we have the really fun part of trying to figure out where all the rest of these things go. So we've got two separate antenna pieces here. One is longer than the other, because this one has the thing on the side. It looks like it goes into this position here. And it does have a little bit of an angled slot in there so that it will go into the position properly and stay in place. This one, of course, goes on the front here. Somehow. So there is a little tab on this thing, and there's a little, oh shit, I just bent part of it. There's a little slot in there for that. It's just getting things lined up properly that is a pain in the rear. I'm going to have this thing broken before I finish setting it up. Let's try this again. There we go. You know, that thing I mentioned about being able to take this stuff apart in order to transport it, I have a feeling that the antennas aren't going to cooperate with that. That leaves us with one last bit of equipment here. So by the ladder, we have this little slot here, and we have this little gripper tab here. And it looks like this thing, this part here, the little peg, is going to fit into this spot there. Like so. I think I call that the final piece, but actually this is the final piece. Whatever this antenna is supposed to be goes in that part right there. And that gives us our 1/18-inch scale Ecto-1. Incomplete with no figures because they didn't put them out yet. And I believe the figure pack is supposed to be a 4-pack with a Peter, Ray, Egon, and Winston. But since we don't have those, I'm going to have to give us a set of makeshift Ghostbusters. So, for our makeshift Ghostbusters, we have Tunnel Rats, we will slide into the driver's seat. Who we will attempt to slide into the driver's seat. See, there we go. And the only thing holding him in place is the steering wheel. So we got our driver. For our pet, actually, I bet you we could fit 3 figures up front there if we want. We might do that. But let's start with Jinx here in the passenger side. Okay, maybe we wouldn't be able to fit 3 figures on there. What is that kind of seat called? Oh, alright, the doors suck. Now, this is the one that we had the questions about whether or not we could actually fit 2 figures in here the way they're supposed to. Also, I guess it would have been kind of nice if they had like the little pegs on the back for the figures. But we will stick our Baroness figure. That ain't looking too good. I'm gonna take take that out. Now, just a reminder here, I picked out a bunch of female figures from the G.I. Joe line, meaning they are slightly slimmer builds, and this is not going well. Because if you want to take a look in here, that's how we've got her fitting right now. And that's not particularly good, I don't think. Which also leads me to wonder now. And we got our G.I. Joe Chun-Li figure. That's right. They did make some G.I. Joe figures for Street Fighter. This was the better of the Chun-Lis they did. And yeah, it looks like we're going to have the... I don't know if they showed this off in one of the fan streams or not. But I just don't see how you fit all 4 figures in here. Unless they're making them somewhat smaller than the actual 3 3/4 inch. I can't even get Chung-Li in the, So again, that's how that figure fits in there like that. So while the driver's section and passenger seat section work fine, it does appear that there are some issues trying to get the figures to sit in the back of the vehicle. And remember, this is supposed to hold 4 Ghostbusters. So unless they did something weird with the figures, I don't see how you do that. I guess we won't find out until they actually release those. I mean, it doesn't look like the seats don't move here. And there is some room. I don't know how much you can see because I can barely see here myself. But there is some room behind this back seat to where you could move it back about an inch if you wanted. And even if that's not 100% accurate to the show, I mean, the inside of this thing's not 100% accurate to show anyway. Why not move that further back? Like, I thought they'd at least sit in the backs properly, and that maybe their feet would be in the way. So I thought maybe they would have to sit something like this. So, as near as I can tell, you might be able to fit one of the other Ghostbusters in here. Again, we won't know for sure until the figures come out, but if they're supposed to be the 3 3/4 inch scale O-ring figures, like the rest of G.I. Joe is, they should have all fit in here. We should have been able to fit 4 figures in here. Admittedly, Chung-Li is a little bit bigger, but let's see. But I mean, even when we go to try to put Jinx in here, you know, that's how she sits. That's not a good. That's not going to work. I don't see how they fit. I don't see how you're going to end up fitting the 4 Ghostbusters in this vehicle, and that is super disappointing to me because I really wanted to be able to. I was probably going to display this with the figures in it. That was my thought originally. So that's actually pretty disappointing. But I guess it does mean, though, that now I don't feel the need to get a second vehicle because I kind of wanted to. Bench seat. Is that what it's called? A bench seat? No, let's see. I just want to know. Can they all get cozy in the front? Well, we can fit 3 figures in the front seat there. So, as excited as I am for this vehicle, I am a bit disappointed when it comes to trying to put the figures in it. I would probably give this a solid 7 out of a 10 scale, maybe. At least we can fit 3 figures in the front. At least, we got Tunnel Rat, Jinx, and the Baroness, all kind of smaller figures. So who knows how the actual Ghostbusters will fit. I don't know if Hasbro did a live stream for it. I didn't watch it. If they did, they probably did. And maybe it shows you how to properly fit the figures in there. But you shouldn't have to watch a video on how to fit figures in to fit the figures in. And I don't see how you can still. I don't see how you would fit. Whoops. 2 figures in this back area. Because that space between them, that's just too narrow. And even if you could, like put the feet slotted at each other so that they look like they're getting ready to scissor. Um, that would maybe help with this little space here, but the roof still isn't high enough. Like their heads hit. All of them have to be bent way over and to the point where it feels like they might break. And even though Chun-Li, like I said, Chun-Li may have been a bad choice because unlike the other figures, whoopsie, I didn't know that came off. She does not have a waist that moves, so I think that was supposed to be glued in place. I just grabbed her because it was one of the figures I saw in one thing. But even so, by waist I mean that part. Um, like that is not a good look. Okay, so okay, fine. I fit both the Baroness and Jinx in there. Baroness's butt isn't even on the seat anymore. Trying to fix that, she's about to fall into the back. So yeah, no, this is this back seat part is just a terrible design. And I think part of the thing is that they were going for the 1/18th scale, which the 3 3/4 are supposed to be a 1/18th scale. But when you get right down to it, they really ain't. Because if they were a matching scale, they should be able to sit in that back part without a problem. So anyway, man, I can't even get Chun-Li to sit in the front seat. So anyway, I think that will conclude our look at the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 vehicle for the O-ring sized figures. As a kid, I would have loved to have this to play with my G.I. Joe figures. So this is way out of time. And let's be perfectly honest, there's not a lot of kids playing with Ghostbusters. And there's probably not even a lot of kids playing with G.I. Joe either. It's mostly, I think, adult collectors who are buying this stuff nowadays. So your timing sucks, Hasbro. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace and love.